Thank you for tuning in to our Invest Palm Beach Leadership Summit. You're about to watch panel number 1, Intelligent Growth, how companies leverage AI to outpace traditional limits and the steps leaders can take to integrate with impact. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more leadership perspectives. Enjoy.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is a true honor to be with you all here at the Invest Palm Beach Leadership Summit. Thank you to our organizers, to the panelists, to our hosts. Here, I love hearing that Palm Beach will be the wellness capital here. And thank you for choosing to spend your morning focused on ideas that will shape not only our businesses, but our communities and our future. I come to you wearing many different hats. I've had the privilege, as was mentioned, to serve as the West Palm Beach City Commissioner for the past 8 years, but I also work in the private sector as an executive of a 130-person law firm here in Palm Beach County. And I have always had a passion for technology and the use of technology in our everyday situations. So these 3 perspectives, public service, private enterprise, and technology, intersect my life in every single day. And they all point to the same conclusions. Innovation is no longer optional. It's foundational. From a public sector standpoint, innovation is not about buzzwords or trends. It's about outcomes. It is about how we serve residents more efficiently, transparently, and effectively. I often joke that no one calls our city commissioner to say, "Great job on that smooth permitting process." But they absolutely will call, but it's taking too long. I think I received a call from some of you on this right. So we're always looking for new ways to incorporate technology, including AI, to improve the resident experience. When we can streamline administrative processes, we can respond faster to real-world needs, whether it's a pothole in the neighborhood street, to building permits for new businesses, or for a code enforcement concern. Efficiency is not just a technical upgrade. It's a quality of life upgrade. There's also a direct financial impact. The smarter we are with our tools and systems, the more flexibility we have with taxpayer dollars. Innovation can mean the difference between raising taxes and providing relief. It can allow a city to invest more in parks, public safety, infrastructure, and community services. Technology, when used responsibly and strategically, becomes a force multiplier for good governance. On the economic front, I'm so proud that West Palm Beach has experienced a remarkable transformation. And I did want to recognize our mayor, Keith James, for helping to lead us in that transformation. We have become a hub of innovation, and the industry is taking notice. Major companies are not just visiting, they are planting roots. When a Fortune 500 technology company like ServiceNow chooses our downtown for its headquarters and brings hundreds of high-paying jobs with it, the impact ripples far beyond the walls of their office. It strengthens our small businesses, creates partnerships, and signals to the rest of the country that this is the place where forward-thinking organizations want to be. We're also seeing the power of higher education and research institutions shaping our future workforce. The development of advanced graduate programs like the new Business and Technology campus from Vanderbilt University represents generational investment for our region. These initiatives produce graduates who are not only job ready, but innovation ready. Individuals prepared to lead in fields like AI, business strategy, healthcare technology, and national security. As a parent of a budding young 2-year-old, I think about what it means for our young people to be able to have meaningful careers right here at home instead of feeling like they have to leave for that opportunity. That pipeline of talent is one of the most important economic assets any community can have. At the same time, growth brings responsibility. As public leaders, we have to ensure that opportunity is inclusive and sustainable. One of our biggest priorities is addressing the burden of housing costs on families and young professionals. We have made meaningful progress in workforce housing, but we all know that the demand outweighs the supply. Growth can not only benefit those at the top, we must create pathways for those working to get there for all of us to succeed. Access to healthcare is another critical priority that you'll be discussing today. And we're fortunate to see major investments taking shape. From Cleveland Clinic's new 150-bed inpatient facility to our downtown NYU Lancome's expanding emergency and specialty services in our region. These are not just buildings. They represent access, prevention, research, and quality of care. As technology reshapes healthcare delivery, our role is to support environments where innovation and compassion can coexist, where advancements in medicine translate into healthier families and stronger communities. And finally, this progress does not take place in isolation. As Abby mentioned, the success we have seen is the result of alignment between the public and private sectors, educators, healthcare leaders, entrepreneurs, and community leaders like yourself. Cities do not grow because one initiative or one company. They grow because they choose collaboration over silos and long-term vision over short-term wins. Today's discussion on AI, workforce development, and the future of healthcare are not abstract conversations. They are deeply connected to how we build resilient communities, competitive economies, and responsive governments. The leaders in this room, each of you, have the opportunity and the responsibility to shape what that future looks like. If there's one message that I hope sets the tone for today, it is this. Innovation is most powerful when it is intentional, inclusive, and collaborative. When we pair technology with thoughtful leadership and shaped purpose, we do more than advance industries, we elevate communities, and we expand what is possible for the people who call our community home. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoy the conversation.
Artificial intelligence is no longer a future concept. It's already reshaping how organizations grow, allocate capital, plan communities, and compete. But while AI creates enormous opportunity, it also raises questions around governance, workforce readiness, equity, and risk. Today's opening conversation focuses on how leaders can move beyond experimentation to intentional, intelligent growth. And to start with, we're going to have a question for the entire panel, so we can just go down the line. AI adoption moves faster than regulation, talent pipelines, and culture. In a brief response, how do you see organizations balancing speed with responsibility right now?
Sure. So I see organizations kind of in three camps. One, some are moving full speed ahead and then figuring out the rules of data regulations. Others that are frozen with fear of the unknown or to do it wrong. And the strongest leaders are trying to find a middle ground. They're trying to test and pilot AI in low risk, high value areas while putting guardrails and also focusing on data quality and accountability. So, speed without caution creates problems, and caution without action creates stalls, so stagnation. So really it's trying to find a mix of both.
Right.
Hi, thank you all. I think as a higher education institution at Florida Atlantic University, our job is to help lower barriers to entry for businesses and others to test and look at emerging technologies. And so I think the commentary about being responsible and trying to find that middle ground is absolutely appropriate. But at the same time, at Florida Atlantic, our goal is to be on the cutting edge, leading edge of technologies and look at emerging technologies, test and find what works, what doesn't. And again, to help lower the barriers of entry, we can be a fail point. We can be a place that's testing and looking at finding those successes, but also finding those failures and finding where businesses may not want to put their dollars or may not want to invest. And that's something we're happy to do, while at the same time making sure that we're preparing our students for that technological future and they're being able to be trained on these latest and greatest technologies.
Banking obviously is a very, very highly regulated industry. And as we continue to evolve in our AI journey, what I will tell you is We work very closely with our regulators in digital sandbox projects to essentially test within our own ecosystem new developments, new roll-ons, how we're going to use these new tools to make us more efficient, to deliver a better client experience. Also, keeping in mind that this is moving a lot faster than some of the regulatory guidance that we get. It's really keeping that in mind as we continue to roll it out across the organization.
Being a private practice, we see the adoption is always going to, it's going to be faster than regulatory framework, columnists, and as the culture catches up to it. So we when I talk to leaders, we say, move fast, learn fast, but when we scale, be intentional about how you scale the technology, but you always have to be moving faster than the adoption.
Great, thanks. Ryan, the next question is for you.
Sure.
Florida's positioning itself as a magnet for innovation and talent. What role do universities play in helping companies move from AI curiosity to real-world implementation?
I like the AI curious turn. I
wrote these questions.
It's perfect. The words. I hope we're all AI curious. And I want to talk even more about continuing emerging technologies. But I want to touch on something that Commissioner Lambert said. And we're fortunate to have a lot of partners here in the room. And it's a friendly room. We're excited about that. Talked about the use and embrace of technology. I'm going to try to remember all the points she said. Intentional, inclusive, and innovative. I think of the three. And we look at that same way. I look at the table here and see Max Planck and the fact that we have tremendous research and looking to expand on that research and get into areas like computational neuroscience. I see the mayor, Keith James, as here, county administrator. We have an engineering research center with downtown West Palm that's using sensing technology and AI technology to find out better ways to increase mobility, increase safety along our streets. We have businesses in the room. I'm sure there's people from FPL, ServiceNow. We have alum throughout these organizations that they kind of teaching the talent of the future, but then utilizing that in real world scenarios while they're in school, like the examples I just mentioned, and then preparing them for when they go into these organizations so that they're armed with those tools. So we feel very fortunate that we get to have the partners to work with while our students are in school. Well, we have the tremendous faculty talent that we do at the university, but you as organizations get to benefit from that talent afterwards. And so hopefully having young talent that know this marketplace and know this region will incentivize you to be more than just AI curious, but to expand and to embrace these new technologies and embrace the new hires that are
Valerie, AI is increasingly influencing transportation, land use, and regional planning. How is the MPO using data, automation, or predictive tools to plan smarter, more resilient communities?
Sure. So as a MPO or metropolitan planning organization, AI isn't necessarily new. It's just more visible and is providing much faster processing. So for years, we have been using big data, cell phone data, vehicle pro data, et cetera, for regional modeling. So whatever we plan long term, we plan over the next 20, 25 years, we have to look at those predictive trends. So we have been using that, but it takes a very long time. A scenario, a quarter study, collecting the data, running the scenarios could take months and cost a lot of consultative time and staff time. So now with AI, we're exploring how can we use that to really run scenarios on the fly. So, but from the public sector, we also have to be cautious because we're being flooded with AI companies trying to sell us the next best thing, promising us the world, and we have to be responsible with our public dollars. So it's really kind of testing that and exploring it, but it's really exciting because the more we can use faster processing on that really consuming, time consuming and cost consuming scenario planning, we can spend more time finding what the best outcomes might be. So running those scenarios much faster in a matter of minutes rather than. We actually recently hosted a workshop with many of our local planners and engineers at the NPO in West Palm Beach. The city of West Palm Beach was there too, looking at a digital twin and learning about digital twins and how can we use that to run scenarios so that in a much shorter period of time, and if we were to do a certain transportation project, what would those impacts be to the communities, to resiliency, to congestion? And really, would it help that much? And what if we do this instead? So we're really exploring it, and it's really exciting.
Great.
We can help you do more of that.
Michael, financial institutions are both heavy users of AI and cautious stewards of risk. Where is AI already creating real value in commercial banking for clients and for internal operations?
I'll come back to my first statement. We are a very highly regulated industry, so I'm going to start with that. I'll walk you through our journey. City National Bank, we're second largest base bank here in Florida, $30 billion. And we were probably one of the first pilot banks for Microsoft. We rolled out Copilot early last year in 24. We piloted it through different parts of our organization, really trying to test where we can get some efficiency. We deployed bots in areas such as like fraud control. So if you get those alerts on your phone, those are typically not being driven by bots. They're looking at different types of patterns and analyzing your transaction histories, anything that kind of comes outside of the norms of the statistical deviation, kind of getting some math about what it's really something that from a client experience perspective, we get more thank yous for using the AI in school in that regard, to really deliver a better client experience in that regard. What we also do now is we're using AI things like you're applying for a loan and you give us your tax returns, or you're a business and you give us your tax returns. We'll take all that information within our ecosystem of the bank. So we basically have said to all our employees, put everything that you're working on into our Copilot platform. It's completely insulated from the outside world. And what that allows us to do is two things such as computational analysis of financial statements, tax returns, and what we call red zone analysis, and get the ball to the 20-yard line so that the bankers, when they get the information, can really test, and validate, the outcomes of some of the data that is then collected by the systems. And then lastly, what we're also doing now is really trying to drive more ways of turning around decisions faster, right? So if you're applying for a loan, it might take 5 or 10 days. 2 years ago, we can turn around now in 2 or 3 days using some of these new tools to really insulate us from a client experience perspective. Now, with Phil is always with, and that what I'm seeing in the banking industry is that it's not going to cross in terms of having connectivity through APIs into other organizations, really until we get more guidance from our regulatory partners, right? And so what I would encourage you, if you're deciding to play this, and if you're in a highly regulated industry, keep it within your own data ecosystem. Find a good partner, like you said. We're going to try to sell a new next test AI tool. But there are some really good ones out there. There are name brands that have been around for many decades. They're really knowing your job in Spain.
Thank you. Paul, many businesses want AI benefits but aren't sure where to start. From a financial and governance standpoint, what foundational steps should leaders take before scaling AI across the organization?
So at Ramper, we have a large technology life science practice. So we work a lot with AI companies, life science companies. A lot of them have partnerships with universities such as FAU, FIU, UF. So a lot of the questions we get is not how can we use the AI, because we're lucky the application is very easy to use, but how can I get in trouble? What is the AI governance framework? And so we work a lot with our clients, keeping them within the framework and making sure they're using safe spaces, that the employees have the knowledge and the training on what to put into an AI about LLM, what they can't put in, or and making sure that they have the guardrails basically in place. And that's the biggest thing. It's not how can I use it? Because if you're curious enough, you can figure that out. The applications are great and the way that they're set up, but it's making sure that you have frameworks set up from the top down. It's a leadership issue on how could it be used responsibly.
This question is for the whole panel that I'll start with you. Much has been written lately about AI taking away jobs. How should leaders be thinking about reskilling teams so that AI enhances talent rather than displaces it?
From what I've seen in practice in the real world, it's a bit overblown, I think, at this point. But Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, has a great quote that says, AI is never going to replace employees, but employees that don't use AI could get replaced. So as a CPA, and I'm sure as an attorney, as other professional service providers, it's harder to compete if you're not using AI, and the competition is using AI. So I think it's really adaptive and using it as a tool. So again, it starts from the top down, from the leadership position, that we want the whole organization to use AI. Here's the framework, but this is a tool for you to be more competitive and to do your job at a very more efficient space. And like it, in public accounting, the old days, we'd have a staff one or a staff two, they come, they're typing in bank statements, making ledger reports, kind of doing the nitty gritty work. That's going away in the sense that we still need staff ones, we still need the employees, but instead of doing that type of work, you're doing higher level work, you're doing analysis. You're having all the data compiled for you using, what Claude just came out with the new LLM yesterday, which is fantastic for like coding and making websites and applications, which is really changing how some software companies work, especially like SaaS companies. But it's being able to have higher level work, maybe working with more purpose in the future. So, I look at it as a good thing that it'll be purpose driven and not task driven as you kind of scale your career.
Sure. Back to you. I see it more as a continuing your professional education kind of course. You have your license to do different things because the technology is changing so fast. What we do in our organization now is we essentially assign 6 to 8 hours of training to actually learn how to use the tool. We do some role plays with me and tool. We do some examples as to how to actually input ledgers or input financials to really understand how to get the more effective outcome with the information. I agree with you. It's really going to help us to make our folks more inquisitive, ask better questions of the data that we may end up doing past.
I couldn't agree more about just lifelong learning and that approach of having to constantly upskill, constantly and embrace new technology. Our College of Engineering and Computer Science has a unique program where they're doing AI plus X, and the X can be anything, whether it's architecture, whether it's business, whether it's arts and letters. The idea is every discipline is going to have some exposure to AI, and so it's our responsibility to again help train talent so that they're exposed to it. But it's not unique to a particular industry. It's not just data analytics and business. It's not just engineering and computer science. Every profession, whether it be accounting or English majors, should be exposed and understand how to utilize these tools. And then we have an incredibly robust continuing education department that is working to constantly take learners who have already graduated and sometimes have graduated with quite advanced degrees, but continue to help them learn new skills, help them advance, and help them continue to be on that cutting edge of technology and embrace it, that they're not one of those people left behind in this revolution. And the last point I'll make is specific to something that just happened that's the exact opposite of taking away jobs. Last week, Florida Atlantic announced a major collaboration with D-Wave, which is a huge quantum computing company. I'm looking at Councilwoman Drucker right in front of me as the state of Florida, the Department of Commerce, Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, the city of Boca Raton, Florida Atlantic, and D-Wave all worked to get a major quantum computing company, one of the top in the world, to move from California to Florida, place their headquarters in Boca Raton, form a relationship with a higher education institution that's going to utilize it to do research, to train, to teach, and they're going to build an R&D center here as well. So this is the most emerging technology, the most cutting edge technology, creating jobs in Palm Beach County and not taking them away. And we feel very fortunate to have the collaborators in the room and beyond that are helping us do this. But again, this is technology creating jobs in our backyard. Now they move.
Alec.
I think going back to the question, AI shouldn't enhance talent, it shouldn't replace it. So even, we've found that using AI has helped with routine tasks, for example, summarizing minutes, doing research faster, researching a policy, what maybe you had to go as a public agency, we're federally funded. So it's like, go read the regulation and the federal, guidance that you need to follow. It's 100 pages long. It could help you analyze that stuff. That would be much more time consuming in a faster way. But the key is to really provide guidance to staff, the tools that you will use, or otherwise they will use their own, and being able to validate the outputs and use professional judgment. So it's really a tool to enhance. While at the same time doing those things, you can go and do other things that would be more communication, more being more effective in your job. So I remember a book I read, or an audiobook actually, it was called What to Do when Machines Do Everything. And it talked about AI. This is a book that I think came out, I don't know, maybe 9 years ago, but they were using some analogies. For example, everyone freaked out when the sewing machine was invented because it was going to take everyone's jobs. Well, it enhanced the people's capabilities to the same time versus hand sewing. But then this talent was still there, right? So you have to adapt and be willing to adapt. They also mentioned, for example, and at that time, this was several years ago, they were talking about in education, classrooms that were using basically like AI, where the teacher, the AI would learn each student's learning style. So the kids would break out into groups and they would learn a lesson, and then they would test it on how they learn, and the machine would learn, okay, this person is more visual, this person's more audio, and it would kind of cater the same information to that student. And then the teacher would get all the class reports. In the ed, they'd break out, they do in-person exercises too, but at the end of the day, she would save a lot of time, he or she, on instead of spending hours grading, it would already be analyzed and see how they were doing and improve that education. So again, it's going back to, testing this stuff, but it's really to enhance talent, not replace it.
Great, thank you. All right, we have one more question. We'll start with you again. To unlock intelligent growth at scale over the next 5 to 10 years, what one bold decision do leaders need to make now, whether that's investment, policy, talent, or mindset, to stay competitive in an AI-powered economy?
I think leaders, especially in the private sector, have to treat AI as an investment as they would any other investment that they make. Rather, if it's a capital investment, but it's an intangible investment, to treat it as any investment, looking at the ROI, looking at how it can be scaled, moving fast, but understanding this is the future of the world that we're going to be living in, and making that core function of the organization, and not just, we kind of do AI here, we do AI here. Who's responsible for the AI? Who's your AI officer? Who's your technologist? So it's really treating it as a core function of the organization. It needs to be done now, even if you don't think the return is there just yet. It will be 5, 10 years, no doubt about it.
Every single job that you have in your organization has to get reviewed. You have to get every single role in your company, whether it be frontline client-facing professionals, or your middle office, or your back office, or your functional areas, compliance, legal, risk, what have you. I think you've heard some examples here today where some of these new tools are speeding up decisions, speeding up analyzing of data. It's just the beginning, and we're doing a top-down review of every single role today to determine what that job may look like a year from now, 5 years from now, and then obviously, we can't even forecast what it looks like perhaps still beyond 5 years. But we are taking a very, very serious look at every role of an organization.
At Florida Atlantic, we practice what we preach. I'm here telling everyone to embrace the new technology and to hire our graduates. But I'll tell you, we're also utilizers of technological tools. We're joined by our provost, Dr. Ken Dustin-Scully, who's our brand provost, and we're so happy to have him. But we have the highest enrollment the university's ever had, 32,000 students, which is the highest enrollment in our history. Over the last 7 or 8 years, we've graduated 1,000 more students a year. So we've gone from 7,000 students graduating to 8,000 students graduating. That's 1,000 more students in the marketplace, 1,000 more students and graduates that can fuel your businesses and enterprises. We're a tier 1, R1 research university. We're an opportunity university. We take students from all backgrounds and transform their lives. And we are also a community engaged institution. We have these 3 very nice designations. We're one of only 11 universities in the country that has all 3 of these designations. AI and AI tools helped us achieve a lot of these goals. Our data analytics, our predictive analytics that we utilize to help embrace our students, to help wrap around students with support services, to identify students who are struggling before they actually start struggling and give them the support they need, have allowed us to push them further along, allowed them to graduate on time, which means they have less debt, allowed them to get jobs and connect with people in the marketplace. And so we're utilizing these tools. We're not just teaching these tools, we utilize these tools and embrace them, and they've helped us create a better, more competitive student body and helped us to create a better, more competitive university. And higher education is a competitive marketplace. We want to make sure we're being responsive to you all, and that we're providing the talent that you need, but we're utilizing these tools just as everyone else is.
Yeah, I guess everyone should educate themselves. I will say I still know, and I want to ask people to raise their hand on this, but even I feel like a late adopter of trying like ChatGPT or whatnot, but it's been a huge time saver. And I still try to convince other people, and people are a little scared. They're like, I don't know, the AI is going to take over my life. It's going to know too much and all these things. But you really need to, for example, my parents, they called me and they were like, how do I do whatever with like a PDF? And I'm like, I don't know, but let me ask. And then here's a screenshot, and here's the answer. A person like would have spent how much time trying to help them. So I think if I had to say one thing is educate yourself now, because the wave has like already started. And to be able to, we've talked about being cutting edge, being competitive, staying competitive as a region. It's happening. It's making business more efficient, more effective. We need to invest in data governance and workforce readiness. And so if you have to do one thing, educate yourself, look into it, and be ready.
Well, that concludes our first panel. I just want to thank the panelists for your free to ask me some point out.
Yeah.
Thank you again, the panelists, moderator of our first panel. Our second panel.